Because audio horror you say that very nonchalantly like it's a nothing, and it isn't, because audio horror is a part.
Setting off from my home area. I found it really strange. I've been having so much trouble.
Now turn left, and then left.
In the area of Warwickshire. This is up there report here. The particular car is a convertible black Mercedes. Now billions will be sold, you know what I mean? But I just pulled in home now to see, I just pulled out from home and I see a girl come in one. And I've had trouble with people my whole life, you know, you come from a background of incest rape. It just exposes you to the sexual community.
Now turn left.
Sexual offenders, it's just nasty. And then you've got to go through a whole process to get yourself out of what it is that you've been forced into.
In half a mile, turn right.
And so, you try to move on, my God. I tell you that it's just like, almost impossible. I find living in East London specifically, where I am now, is incredibly, atmosphere of obsessiveness is just nasty. I don't like it at all. You know what I mean? You see, I could come along here and at least fucking taxi drivers blowing up their lights in your fucking face. And I'm going to keep it real, it's just like, the stress of it is just like too much, because what are you doing? I go to work, I come home and I stay home. I do very little in between, you know what I mean? I just drain of the energy to do anything else. Really
In a quarter mile, turn right
like
onto a 104 towards Walston Lane.
I used to, I don't know if you could hear that, but I did, when I went to study art after school, because I really loved it, and I went to school with some of them, the other students in school were really good at it, and between poetry and art, they were fucking brilliant, man, I'd say, that's what I thought. When I, what do you call it? So I went to do a bit more. I went to do a little bit more, to be honest. And I went to Chelsea Community College, so that would be like, my mother introduced me, my late mother introduced me to studying extra studies, like doing extra studies at night time. So if you wanted to, when you didn't qualify, I didn't do well at education. I just had too much else going on to really do well at education. But when I went to, I went to community college in Chelsea to learn about the body, because if you learn, I'm a freehand sewer and designer, so I don't work to pattern. I have made things by patterns. I have learned, I did eventually learn how to cut to pattern, and could basically make my own patterns, which I probably will do to save time, because it could be incredibly laborious. Trying to get used to doing freehand sewing again has been incredibly difficult, to be honest, you know what I mean? It's been quite a nightmare. So I'd gone there to to really enhance my natural ability, because I'd learned to sew just watching my mother, and then she didn't really always like me learning what I learned from her. I don't know, it was really kind of strange, but she was still a great source of inspiration to me no matter what. So, however, there's just something about what just happened as I came to my car which made me really concerned that there was somebody there. I don't know why. There was just an atmosphere or something between. I didn't have no problem with the person. I didn't know him, but I just have a concern now that there is like, I don't know. I just don't know. I just have a concern that I may still have a long-term problem there. And I'd rather do this and show myself as I am. If I'm the one who's paranoid, if I'm the one who's not seen it right, it's a lot easier for me to deal with myself and put myself back together and get it
now
right.
Turn right.
It's easier for me to be wrong and put myself right than it is to be somebody else's. You cannot control other people. You know, you cannot control their path. Their damage is their damage. Their relationship with their whole life is theirs. It's not for you to go up in that and affect it, really, apart from to be loving and positive. So if things can come back to me as me in a fair way, not from abuse, because there's a lot of people who just want it to be about you and they will do absolutely anything, lie, cheat, steal, everything for you to be the blame. I have had abusers in my life who just cannot leave me alone. I just find it very strange in East London as to why cyclists cannot just ride for themselves. There's just a core set of them that if they're not trying to see if I've got numbers on top of my car, it would appear, because why would you need to see the roof of somebody's car? I mean, I don't know why they're doing this, but they will have to specifically make a point of it's just avert action. That's what I could call it. When their drive and your drive could be, as road users, can be incredibly peaceful and most of all safe. You start poking fun at people and being, apart from sitting in your car, just doing what you're doing, use your lights as you need to use them, which is not excessively, and don't aggravate or provoke any other behaviour which will cause unsafe reactions in people. It could be all like that, if you know what I mean. But man, I don't know. I wasn't talking when I was referring to blame. I'm not interested in taking blame. That it's not mine. I'm just not doing that anymore. I did it for many years. I did it deliberately for at least a good few years. So this is what came to me. This is what I wanted to come to terms with and see myself doing. Because even though I'm doing this as one person, the whole point of doing this is really being able to not confront, because I don't ever want to be unloving to myself. I know I don't need to do that anymore. Allow people to replicate what other people have done to me, then abuse myself in the same way. That just does not need to be what happens. But it's good therapeutically. So this is still therapy is the process. I really want to hear and see myself talking, and then I can pick up on what my I could just
now turn
feel
half
better
left
from it if I could make myself get out what I need to, and just
for
see
the next
myself
2 miles. Keep straight on this
I've got
road.
to catch myself when I'm cursing on the way to the journey, because my own cussing makes me laugh, and it's not necessarily the best thing I can do. It's a much more beautiful life if I could just keep quiet. I enjoy my journeys a lot better if I'm not being facetious towards other virtues. I'm not saying it's just comments that I have under my breath, you know what I mean? But sometimes they can mouth out. So that bloat out nature needs to go, really. It's not at home, and sometimes in writing it can be entertaining, but you still need therapy, still a process. You've still got to process that and
In a
see
quarter
where
mile,
that came
turn
from
left
and
onto
what
Essex
that is.
Road.
Can you see me a bit clearer now? Lights being shown in my face. For what reason? I have no idea who that road user is. Lights just went up as they came towards me. For what reason? Cyclists just passed me, and they're leaning, and they kind of lean towards your car. Or it's just really nasty overt action. I don't know why. I really don't. It's just really, if I let it be incredibly offensive. The only thing I realised the other day it related to was, I spent many years, I had to, I mean, when you live out your parents with, you've got to do what they do. I had no money for a mortgage, couldn't get a job, I was a bit underage, under the age, I couldn't say everything, I had to go with what other people are saying and what other people are doing. So, I think it has something to do with the military, oh my God, what do they call it? I've forgotten now. It's something to do with military process or performance. And I think when they are, it's almost like a salute. That's all I want to say. I don't want to get too far into the hierarchy of it and start mentioning things, and then you go and publish it and you can't fucking walk down the street because of who people are and what, and I know the bullshit. I don't want nothing to do with me. I probably shouldn't say that. Like, I'm going to keep it straight. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I mean? I just need to... I don't mind it. I take a lot of... It's a big part of my life. I have a lot of respect for what's going on, but the bullshit is coming from where people can't cope with. They're not coping in the best ways. They just... This is about overt theories. I just can't do it.
Now turn left.
I should speak more positively, but I'm giving what the therapy needs to be about. So that's exactly how I feel about it. I'm just like, so I'm at Essex Road, the junction with Essex Road. There's a car in front of me, so let me see it look dark now. Let me see the lights. I don't see exactly how the fucking lights in my face now. You got to be up there like that. Every time I get to this fucking junction, it starts with this fucking light bullshit. You're sitting there with the fucking lights on. Each and every time, like every day at one point, these people just sit there with the lights hold up. I don't know
now
what that's supposed
left.
to be about. Why can't you just... Nobody's doing nothing to you. Why don't you just not do nothing? I mean, I suppose people feel like that about my work. They think, well, why do you have to go and write? If you knew how I nearly lost myself, I mean, in so many different ways.
Now turn left.
People don't go in front, drive up in front a trailer, which is 44 ton and more, 16 feet high, and slap on their brakes. Especially
now turn
when
left,
they got clothes
and
on
then
their back,
immediately keep
and
right.
they've eaten, and they're driving a car. Cars travel in those things. You know what I mean? Here's another one. Is lights flashing. Here's another one. Look, you could just drive down the road. Nobody's bothering you. If I was holding weapons toward a car is a weapon, but if I was doing something towards you to do that, then do it. But why would you do that?
In
I
a
just
quarter
don't
mile,
understand. I'm not
turn
doing
left,
anything,
and then
and
right.
It's singling people out for no reason. You know what I mean? You ain't got no business singling people out like that. I don't care. So let's have a look now. We're 10 minutes in. I've left a bit early today. I'm in a traffic jam now. Highbury and Islington is one of the places that seems to be a bit tense. So it's generally towards the end of my road, or just now on my road, I can see where the problems come. I had always had this feeling that once you start to rest, I moved around a bit, not a lot. I still don't have those kind of resources. Still depend on other resources. Trying to make my way in the world. I'm 55 plus. Patterns ain't really changed that much, you know what I mean? Still talking about abuse. You know what I mean? And what happens is not everybody heals after abuse. Some people don't know they've been abused. It's incredibly sad. But they don't understand their behaviour hurts. And even while you're abused, I remember when I was young, there was a lot of behaviours I didn't understand that hurt people. You know, I mean, I was a little tyrant, but also while I was a little tyrant, what I'm screaming inside is that there was never a day when anybody sat down and said to me that I can remember that did somebody hurt you, did someone touch you how they shouldn't touch you, or speak to me in a way where I could actually speak about that. You know what I mean? That just has never, I can't remember a day when that stayed in my mind. And why would that leave if that was really something that something so important? I just don't think. I remember the day a teacher said to me, you've got a really nice voice, blah blah blah, things like that. I'd had to get to college before I heard that, but that's just really strange to me. So I was just tumbling and fighting, molested, raped, abused, get up, play, get boxed down, be violently treated, then eventually learn to fight back in some kind of haphazard way. And then it was the war of words. Started to realise tone of voice, atmosphere and stuff like that could actually get you defended, and all of that was just to make sure that you just don't get hit or beat, just to get you out of get you out of the argument or the violent episode or whatever thing that was happening. You know what I mean? That was just, it was literally self-defense mechanisms, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know, like since last about summer, boy, the atmosphere turned funky, boy. I don't know, I don't know what it is I've written. I can't even figure out what it is I've done. My music eventually gets attention because I invest a lot in it. So I didn't have any kind of feedback where anybody was coming up to me saying, oh, I'm not in that situation really, but just in general that, what you're doing is good or blah, blah, blah. So it's very difficult to then understand an onslaught of a level of attention that just doesn't have any relation to anything in your life. It just doesn't, none of it is just making sense, you know what I mean? It's just like, it has to be those people. I hate always just saying people because like you're attacking persons who have varying different things that are going on with them, so you can't really generalise them, so I'll scratch that. But there are situations, I should say, at times where due to what may or may not be processed, there are situations which are made specifically antagonistic. You know what I mean? So somebody's doing something online. There's a lot of people who don't fully, but okay, let me just leave it like that. They're just sometimes people who are not developed enough to understand it's part of the course of business and you need to respond to it, or it's part of the course of marketing what somebody's doing. People want to know who you are before they go and buy from you. You think selling on people got the most successful looking websites, which may not ever make them any money, because people do not necessarily trust what they're seeing or understand. You've really got to work hard to convey who you are, what you're about, and what you're doing, and it takes an enormous amount of investment to do that. An enormous amount. It is no cheap feat, let me tell you. Whether you have the budget to do it, or whether you have the budget or not, whether you invest in something, time, money, even if you're working from home where you've got everything you've built for so many years, it still can cost you an enormous amount of money, you know? It's just no fee, and it's a big risk as well to put yourself out there, because one of the things that you attract, and you don't have to do anything to attract it. People may have motives for many things, and reasons for doing many things, but you really don't have to do anything for someone just to decide that they take a look at you and, you know, and then decide that they think they're going to pursue you because of the way they feel. I had that. I had a guy come up to me. I can't remember who it was now, but I remember being in these situations where, I really like you, and I really want to get to know you, and this, that, and I was in a situation. This is by the time I'd really grown up and knew not to respond to things like that anymore. This, of course, when I was younger and slimmer, but anyway. And this guy was going on and on and on and on. So I just sat there and listened, because I could be, my mouth is like, it can be sharp. And so I was listening to him, and then eventually at the end of it, when he was finished, he calmed down, and he almost like, it was like he just expected me to go along with the fact that how much he liked, but I had healed enough by then, thankfully. He's going on and on at me, and it was just really one-sided. And so at the end of it, I said to him, what do you think I like? What do I want? Because he'd gone on so much and almost getting to the point where it was like all consuming, where I was just to follow along, and this man just with a smile on his face. It was such a sweet moment. It was hilarious. There's nothing, as far as I'm aware, nothing bad happened after that. Just laughed and got on with it, you know what I mean? But I didn't go out with him or anything like that, because it was just like, I'd gotten to the point where I realised there was just some kind of treachery going on. You can come away from incest, like pull yourself away, but like I said, doesn't mean everybody's healed, and there's a lot of other antics that go. Is another light shine alert. You know what I mean? Do nothing. You know, I'm talking into camera, hand on wheel. Shouldn't have two hands on the wheel. It's nothing. You know. don't know them, don't even look the other way, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was just saying, as you come from incest, abuse and rape, there's a lot of other elements that come up within that. So whilst you walk away, someone else who isn't healed, they may still carry loads of spite. And believe it or not, despite there being rape, because I think a lot of people get confused. If you're in love with your cousins and stuff like that, that's fine, it's permissive. But when it's brutal, somebody's under the age of consent, they physically cannot fight back because of the size of the person that's attacking them. And if you've gone through the years of development and that has been, rape and molestation has been part of your development, what do you know? What do you really know? Where are you going to start now to get to know how to be intimate in life or even attract anybody, let alone feel good about yourself? You know what I mean? There's a transference that goes on, where your abuse gets translated. You get to about your teens, you're getting to know your body, you get a bit shapely, and you're among your peers. I remember it was the most devastating time to me because I was among my peers who were really pretty people and they were really together and all fashionable. They had difficult times, don't get me wrong, but they still managed to pull themselves together. I just looked a freaking mess. And they'll be sitting there talking about what sounded like. I'm not saying they didn't go through what I went through, because I went to somewhere where people had it rough. And there was some just terrible stories. And I never say mine is the worst story at all. But I just looked at them and I just felt like they had it all together, really. From my perspective, that's not the truth. That's just my perspective. And I'd be heartbroken. I'd always be playing the idiot, you know what I mean? Because sitting there, listen to people speaking about dating, and my life was nowhere near that. It was never going to get there. You know what I mean? All that sweet 16 thing, my life was just sour like bile to me. You know what I mean? And just all those kind of things I just wasn't ever going to experience. That was just, you know, getting to know each other as a couple and all that kind of thing just wasn't going to come my way that way. Do you see what I'm saying? It just wasn't. Not that I didn't have good things going on in my life at the time, you know what I mean? I was given opportunities, but again, affected by the abuse, I couldn't manage it and let the opportunities go, and it's just like sad, really, you know what I mean? I wish I had more about to accept things for what they are, really, but I don't want to stay like on a happy note, because I'm not going to lie, it's a mournful part of my life, you know what I mean? And to have that's still been dug at me till to this day. It means I've never really had a break from it, to be honest. If I was the one who went off and started it off, that would be fine, but it's very difficult now when you're trying to do things to better yourself and getting into social media. It's always been a conflict for me, because I'm an artist and part of doing what you do is get yourself out there, and that's always been a conflict to me. But I'm learning to work with it now, but trying to deal with the intent, I still don't know that. For me, there's just the era in my life which is where there are stalkers that occupy it. People falling off bikes into your car. It's not something I want. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why they're doing it. You know, you go disrespect someone else. You can just leave me alone. Thank you. I don't care who you are.
Now turn left and then immediately right.
But it's just like you can't just live in an area where you just get on, you know what I mean? I don't know what this attention is, but I can feel safe in it, that I don't believe there's anything I've done that is just really definitely down to other people. That's their life, you know. I have no understanding of what it is. I said before that when the only thing I remember watching the documentary about two very criminals who committed heinous murders on children, and they used this flashlight technique where they were flashing their lights to let each other know that's the perfect victim. So every time I see that coming from the background that's all I see. It's very difficult. I mean, I can discern when somebody's using that technique in a traffic sense to warn other people. Often as drivers, you do that to let someone know they can go or whatever like that. But to me, when I'm sitting here driving and somebody would just sit at the traffic lights with their lights high up. I know new lights are very reactive and stuff like that, but I've literally seen where the lights have gone up, and then when I've gone past, they go down. That's how I started to realise, I think this may be something they're trying to make me notice. Otherwise I wouldn't have known, to be honest. I would have just perceived that everybody else was doing it. When I started to see the pattern of it coming towards me, lights up, and I look in the mirror to go past, and they're not doing it to the driver behind me and the driver behind that. I think that's really weird. You know what I mean? Why would you do that? But anyway, I got through the worst parts of the journey. I was actually going to put on a different camera, but this is the best way I could catalogue what I do. Doing all that thing about collecting evidence, and investigations are it's incredibly difficult, and it consumes so much energy. Like that kind of 24/7 alertness is just, oh my god, it's just brutal. I personally find my energy is brutal. It's not something I would never like to get up and do that. I've been forced into a situation because excuse me, I'm just about to hiccup. I'm stopping a burp and a hiccup. Because of what I've been through, I had to get a certain amount of attention, like certain amount of information together. I swear I passed the police van. I thought he was going to flick up their lights at me, but I was going to say that just ain't cool. You know what I mean? I'm not here to trouble you people. I had to deal with you. My life had been dragged towards that kind of era life. That was not the era of life I was going to. Really don't forget what use that they have, with all due respect. That's how out of it I was. I tend to not live on the kind of... I had to learn to ground myself, really. But yeah, I just find it exhausting, absolutely exhausting. There's much better things to do in life, you know what I mean? Much better conversations to have and things to talk about and document and process, to be honest. But I'm just dealing with what I've got to deal with right now, so I'm going to cut it off because I'm at traffic lights now, so I can touch camera like that.